Today we're going to dive into a popular topic, combining the major pentatonic and the minor pentatonic scales. I'm going to show you the way I think about this in 3 different levels, and with each level I'll demonstrate a solo highlighting the different concepts we cover. Let's get into it. So to start out, let's cover some fundamentals. We're going to be in the key of E today. So the E major pentatonic is E, F sharp, G sharp, B, and C sharp. And we can play this in 5 positions up and down the fretboard. And the E minor pentatonic is E, G, A, B, and D. And again, we can play this in 5 positions up and down the fretboard. Now, one of the exercises we can do to get comfortable combining these 2 scales together is to alternate between the major pentatonic and the minor pentatonic in each position. So for level 1, we're going to look at the simplest way of combining these 2 scales. We're going to simply alternate between playing licks from the major pentatonic scale and licks from the minor pentatonic scale. And this works particularly well when you have tunes that don't have really clearly defined harmony. For instance, a lot of rock tunes are based around power chords, where there's no third in the chord. There's no major third, no minor third. So the harmony is pretty open to interpretation. A lot of riff-based rock and funk tunes are like this, and even a lot of blues. So one of the tricks for this is to play the same lick and move it up the fretboard by 3 frets to go from major to minor. For instance, I can play a major pentatonic phrase like this, and then just move that same lick up 1, 2, 3 frets, and now I get a minor pentatonic lick. So major pentatonic and minor pentatonic. So for this first example, I'm going to play over a 1-chord vamp in the key of E, and I'm going to alternate between major pentatonic and minor pentatonic by playing similar phrases and moving them up and down the fretboard 3 frets to cover the major sounds and the minor sounds. So for level 2, we're going to apply these scales to a chord progression. And for this, I'm going to use a very simple 12-bar blues in the key of E. Now, over the E chord, over the 1 chord, I'm going to stick with my major pentatonic scale. But then as we move to the 4 chord, A, I'm going to switch over to the minor pentatonic scale. And then back to the major pentatonic scales, we go back to E. And then again, as we go to the 5 chord, I'm going to go back to the minor pentatonic scale. So alternating between major pentatonic over the 1 chord and then using the minor pentatonic scale for the other 2 chords in the progression. This is a great way to get started targeting some of the chord tones within these chords. And we'll get more into that in level 3. But here's what this approach sounds like over a 12-bar blues shuffle in the key of E. So for level 3, we're going to actually start combining these 2 scales together. Instead of just alternating from one scale to the next, we're actually going to start to blend the notes of the different scales together. This is going to allow us to start really targeting chord tones to the different chords in our blues changes and just play with a little bit more intention. So over the E7 chord, the first chord of our blues, instead of just playing a straight major pentatonic scale, we're actually going to switch out the 6th with the flat 7, right? So instead of this C sharp, we're going to move it up to a D, which is from the minor pentatonic scale. So now we get this modified pentatonic scale. Right, and this works great over this chord because this scale now gives us all of the notes of this E7 chord. It's got the root, it's got the major third, it's got the 5th, and it's got the flat 7 all within that scale. Now as we move to the 4 chord, A7, instead of just playing a straight minor pentatonic scale, we're actually going to change the flat 7 down to a major 6 from the major pentatonic scale. So D is going to move down to C sharp for this scale. And that gives us minor pentatonic with a major 6. So again, just these different little adjustments we can make to these scales. So over E, we've got a major pentatonic with a flat 7 that gives us all the chord tones of an E7 chord. And then over A7, we've got a minor pentatonic with a major 6, which gives us the 5th, flat 7, root, and major third of an A7 chord. So again, all of our chord tones are within these modified scales. And just by making subtle little adjustments like that, you can start to play things that really live inside of the chord changes. Instead of just playing one scale over all of the changes, we can start targeting key chord tones. And it's all really found within these pentatonic scales, just combining them together in the right way. So here's what it sounds like over our blues shuffle backing track. so all the tabs for these solos and the backing tracks will be available over on my Patreon site. Check the description down below for all my links. And until next time, happy practicing and take care.